Hey everybody, Tyler here. I'm here to review the Hoka Kaha 2 GTX. I have tested the Hoka Kaha 2 GTX over the past 7 months. Please stay tuned for my full review and thank you for listening. So Hoka has been expanding their running shoe niche into the hiking shoes, and I really believe they've knocked this one out of the park. They've had excellent cushioning. I've had zero problems with ankle support. So just to go over the initial review of these, the price right now is pretty steep. It's $240, which is definitely on the higher end for hiking boots. There are 9 different colors to choose from. It's hard for me to show in this video of all the colors, but mine right now are the duffel bag radiant yellow boots. They come in a size 7 to 15 in men's, and currently there is not a wide size. I first rated the Hoka Kahas a 9.5 out of 10 for comfort. So this is the most important thing when you are looking into buying a hiking shoe, because if they don't feel good, then you're never going to use them, right? So one thing I noted while hiking in these is my plantar fasciitis, which I have on my left side of my foot. I didn't notice any flare-ups with it at all. And then I also didn't notice any blistering after breaking in these boots. I've had these for about 7 months now, and I've had zero issues with any blistering or flaring up of my plantar fasciitis. One of the biggest attributes of this boot is the cushioning on the bottom. It's got that original Hoka long heel, nice and wide, nice and robust. One of the biggest things I will show is when I do my jumping test, that it is able to absorb a lot of shock here, and is very flexible, but not too flexible to the point where you're going to cause injury in yourself. As you can see in the back of the boot, it actually has a nice design which is meant to be there for a reason, to hold the traction and stability while you're walking. One of the other things I noticed was that it has a nice flexible sole right around here, which you're able to adapt to your environment when you're hiking. The biggest part of this is the hubble heel, which is a patented design. Okay, it's not just by Hoka, it's by every hiking boot that's been in the game right now. What the hubble heel allows you to do is to maintain your traction and absorb that shock, especially when you're coming downhill. That's where a lot of injuries occur. A lot of people have ankle, mid-foot sprains because when they're coming down the hill, they don't have that traction or cushioning needed to absorb that shock. Some people like to know that they have enough cushioning to the point where they're not even noticing if they're hitting a sharp edge on a rock or they're landing on something by jumping down about 2 feet. I like to know my surroundings, so it's been a nice equal comfort between the two. One of the biggest attributes also is the ankle cuff. This is where I usually have a lot of issues when I'm hiking, where I get a lot of blistering and redness in the back of my heel. This isn't made out of cheap synthetic material. If you can see, it's actually a pretty robust material, and the cushioning on the sides also have great stability because it's going to hug your ankle like this as you're walking, but it's also not rubbing enough against the skin here, as you can see. So here's my tie testing on these boots. As you can see, you have 3 hooks on this boot as compared to 2 on most. They tie nice and well. I use a surgeon's knot so my heel doesn't slip here. And yeah, very comfortable, no problems when I'm plantar flexing whatsoever, nice and cushiony. The tongue tucks in nicely when you tie the shoe. It doesn't come on the outside like this, which a lot of people will notice. It's nice and easily tucked in here after you tie. The next note I wanted to make is I rated this a 9 out of 10 for the traction. If you take a look at the bottom of the boot, it has great spaced parts of the lugs. They're about 5 millimeters spaced between each other. And as you can see, there's no area where you can get easy tracking of mud whatsoever. It's wide enough to the point where you're able to absorb the mud when you're walking, but your boot is able to get rid of it as you're walking down the trail. The sole is known to be able to have you hike in a variety of conditions, whether that's dry mud, wet mud, rain, rocks, sliding, slate, anything. you'll be able to get through with the sole that they've really designed on the lugs here. The next thing I wanted to go over is water resistance. So they have the Gore-Tex membrane, which a lot of hiking shoes nowadays have. Some people complain about the breathability issues in the Gore-Tex membrane. To me, I would rather have my feet be a little hot when hiking rather than just wet the whole time when I went through a stream or a river or anything of that sort. And while testing these boots, I'm usually hiking with my dog. And one thing I did was I had to carry him through a small stream, and the water probably went up to here on the boot. Didn't notice any sort of intake of water in my boot. I took it off just to check and make sure, and there was nothing on my sock, nothing whatsoever. So I rated that a 10 out of 10. Like I said, sometimes people will complain about that Gore-Tex membrane where their foot gets too hot. I wouldn't say mine got really that bad, to be honest, when I was hiking. But again, it can be bothersome to some people. I always say hiking boots are very subjective, and I'm just trying to be as objective as possible and give you guys hints and clues and things I notice while hiking, and you know what I like as well, so it can help you see what you would like for your own boot. So the biggest thing for me is ankle protection. So this is the Hoka Kaha GTX. There's also a mid, meaning that it comes lower down the ankle. I like the high tops of the boots because I want my ankle to be protected when I'm going down rough terrain. The low cut boots never really cut it for me, no pun intended. I've had always issues with my ankles and not feeling stable when going, especially when going downhill. So the biggest part of the shoe is the robust toe material. I've hit my shoe against trees, rocks, anything. It's definitely not a steel toe boot, obviously, but it does absorb a good amount of shock, and it's not too tight around your toe, where most people feel like it's very constrictive to them. That's where a lot of people get blisters, obviously the front of the foot. So that's definitely been a nice 9 out of 10 for me. I felt great protection with these boots. I have no problems in terms of overall protection, which is probably the second most important part when choosing a hiking boot, because obviously you don't want to get in any sort of accident or have any sort of injury. Then you're never going to want to go hiking again. So one of the last things I wanted to talk about was fit and comfort. Usually my foot runs a little wide. These do not come in a wide fashion, and you know, I've had other videos where you go over how to get around that with proper lacing techniques, but honestly, I haven't noticed that my feet are very snug in here. It does have a great fit. I've noticed that actually in the back, some people may have some heel slipping, because I'm noticing it's pretty wide back there for a shoe that's not even supposed to be a wide fit, to be honest. So you can get through that with some special lacing techniques, but honestly, having some extra room in the back of the heel is better. One of the last things I wanted to go over is the heel of this boot. It is made in a wider fashion, as you can see. As you're coming up or down the hill, you want proper foot striking, meaning you're going from heel to toe, which obviously minimizes injury and doesn't get many of the stabilizers in your lower leg and foot going, which you don't want it to do. You want that stability in your shoe. The reason why they've made this so wide and you can see a little jutted out edge here is because it makes your foot strike in the proper direction, because it's so wide and has so much cushioning and comfort over here that your foot is striking in a proper direction. Honestly, I don't feel like I have to use much of plantar flexion when I'm moving. I feel like as if the boot's doing it for me. And I know that may sound weird, but it's something you really have to experience yourself. Overall, I think Hoka has knocked it out of the park with these boots. I think they have such great protection. They're made out of such great, robust materials. And I just think that I've noticed a lot of great traction, especially over the past 6 months. I haven't had any issues with any sort of injury, and I've done a lot of hiking, at least 1 to 2 times every weekend for the past 7 months. Overall, you know, the price is steep at $240. Maybe they may be doing a sale soon, I'm not sure, but usually in my experience, these boots that are more high tops, where they're not that low cut like I was talking before, usually are more durable because it's not made out of that cheap synthetic material, especially around the tongue and the top here. So I really do think it's worth it for $240. Thanks for listening. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Also, like the video and please subscribe. There's a link below to buy these boots if you'd like. Thank you.